Hello, how are we doing? Hope you're all doing well, everyone. Listen, I wanted to start making slightly different content on YouTube, and something I've realized is that across my 250 plus videos on YouTube, there haven't really been many focused on me. There's been a lot focused on Minion Rush, there's been a lot about the Triesverse, that kind of thing, but I've realized that realistically, there's not too much of an introduction as to who I am or how I've gotten to the position that I am. So, for those of you that don't know, hello, my name's Jaden Robinson. I am a multimedia creator from the UK, currently living in York. Great place to live, by the way, highly recommend it. But yeah, I just thought I'd put this out there to get to know you guys a little bit better, so you guys have a better understanding as to who I am, just to walk you through my journey as to how I got to the position that I'm in. Because look, I'm not a massive YouTube creator or anything, but I'd say I've done a pretty decent job for the content that I've been making. And yeah, I have a pretty expansive, experience in the multimedia industry. So I thought, yeah, let's put it out there. Let's show you guys how I got into all this. So look, to go back way back when, I was born in 2004, '04 baby. And I don't know. I grew up on, cartoons and TV shows like any kid would. But I think what was realized pretty quickly about me when I was a kid is that I functioned pretty differently to all the other children in school. I would grow like massive obsessions with pieces of media, and they would make their way into everything that I did. So like school report, like English lessons and things like that, I would write about thimbles. If you guys know what thimbles was, I don't know if it's big over in any other country other than the UK, but I would write about thimbles constantly, bro. And, the teachers would point out, it's like, look, this is a kid that's clearly very creative, but, like, he needs to broaden his horizons and sort of make his own things, because he can't just, like, rip off everything. So, yeah, I started out as a bit of a fraud, really. I would just steal other people's concepts and ideas. But the point is, I had a pretty big imagination. And the way that this was constructed by myself and my parents later down the line is I would start making videos. Not necessarily for YouTube or anything, just for myself. I would make like stop motions with my dad. So like I had little action figures and things. I started off making videos like that. And then I grew like this really weird obsession with claw machines. I don't know if you guys know claw machines, the grabbers in the arcades. I loved those things, man. Probably a bit of a problematic gambling addiction, but what can you do? I started making videos on claw machines. And, that was probably my first big breakthrough into YouTube. They were the first things that I uploaded to YouTube, like publicly facing, that is. Because I was pretty good at the machines. In the UK, they're insanely rigged. But I don't know, man, I had a good hand with them, and I won more than the average person. And I started realizing that, like, videos to do with the minions and claw machines, like that synergy, while Despicable Me 2 was coming out, even young Jaden realized, I was like, this does pretty well. So I scouted out claw machines with minions in them and tried to win on them, and when I did, I'd put it on YouTube, and they do okay. So I naturally took the next step, and I asked for a claw machine for Christmas. And I got a claw machine for Christmas, and I started uploading videos of me playing on my own claw machine, and I was like, oh, this doesn't do as well. Because when people realize, that you're rigging your own machine, it doesn't do as well as the actual thrill of winning on a real one. So that was when I sort of realized, okay, if you want to make it in the YouTube life, your content has to be real. So when I got to a certain age, I asked my dad, I was like, Dad, can I make my own YouTube channel? And he was like, yeah, fine, but I'm keeping an eye on you. So I made my first YouTube channel, Jaden Works, and my first content really was me and my friend Alex playing Minecraft. I know so many kids break into YouTube and that kind of thing through Minecraft, and my experience was no different. I made like the average terrible, Bandai cam, terrible microphone, laggy computer Minecraft videos with my friend Alex, who you guys all know, who I still make content with and still see regularly. Alex is like one of my best friends to this day. We just made Minecraft videos together, and they sucked. They genuinely sucked. They were never going to do well because they reeked, and they just flew into another content slot goldmine that was to be lost forever, unsurprisingly. So, yeah, no one ever really saw those videos, and I abandoned Jaden Works shortly after, and I thought, I don't know what led me to this conclusion, but I thought, okay, if I do the exact same thing again, but on a new channel, it'll do well, right? No, Jaden, it wouldn't. But anyway, in 2014, I made this channel, which was originally called Jaden Tries Minecraft, and I started uploading Minecraft videos again, and they continued to do horribly. So it was around that time, sort of 2014, maybe 2015, that I realized, okay, if I want to do well on YouTube, and to be fair, for me, who was like 10, At the time, I probably have the math wrong there, but for me being as young as I was, I gotta give credit. This was pretty like smart for someone of that age. I realized I was like, okay, if you want to do well on YouTube, do something original, do something that not many people are doing. And there was this massive mobile game, Minion Rush, that I loved playing in my free time. And I was like, right, if you're doing gaming videos anyway, let's pivot over to Minion Rush. Let's see how that does. It did pretty well. My Minion Rush videos sucked, by the way. Like, back when I first started, in fact, I would argue up until like 3 years ago, my Minion Rush videos were consistently terrible. Most of the time they were just crude recordings of my screen with me commentating over it. Half the time, like, you wouldn't be able to hear me over the game's audio. So, that sucked. But, yeah, I guess 2014, toward the end, or as I say, maybe 2015, is when I started making Minion Rush videos. Now, I'm going to backtrack a tiny little bit. Aside from YouTube, I always enjoyed acting, alright? I loved acting. I figured that out through a school play that I did. I actually got cast as one of the main characters by complete mistake. One of the actresses who was meant to play one of the teachers in one of our school plays was sick, and they just threw me in. They were like, Jaden, you're doing this now. And I was like, okay. I had no idea I enjoyed acting. I got up on that stage and I played the part, and I tell you what, I loved it. I thought it was incredible. I absolutely adored it. So my mum's friend, Janet Marsh, who is a established actress herself, she got given permission to start a Pauline Quirk Academy in my local hometown. Not going to dox myself, but I'm pretty sure the info is out there as to where I grew up. But point is, yeah, I went to the PQA Academy starting in 2015 as well. So, consistently, I had my own YouTube channel running and I was attending the Pauline Quirk Academy of Performing Arts. Great, right? Like, I was setting myself up pretty well here. The Minion Rush stuff started to do fairly well, and I was at an acting academy, so I was pursuing two things at the same time. It was a bit chaotic, but yeah, PQA, I did more than just act. They had a musical theatre department, they had a comedy and drama department, and they had a film and TV department. Film and TV was by far my absolute bread and butter. I remember one of my first big projects was I worked on like a promo ad for PQA, where I shared my experiences working, you know, as a student there. And man, like, I remember loving doing that. It was very high production value. The guy who was like directing it was really well established and had his own career and things like that. So I got a really great insight at a really young age as to like how all this stuff worked. And I immediately fell in love with it. You know, like the production side of things and content creation. I thought, this is what I want to do. I think that was sort of when I realized I was like, okay, this is awesome. I did other stuff at PQA as well. I took part in like all of these stage shows. I actually at one point, can't remember what year this was. I remember it was while I was doing Minion Rush updates, like Minion Rush content on YouTube, because while I was doing it, there was a Minion Rush update that dropped, and I was like, I need to make a video. But yeah, I did West End. I was on the London West End at one point. Crazy fat dump about me, I guess. But yeah, I was on the London West End, and I thought, this is pretty cool. But look, I'm going to be honest with you, it's like stage performing never really appealed to me. That's my sister's thing. She likes doing that. I'm like, nah, that's not really for me. But look, being on camera in like a film and TV setting, now that I really did enjoy. I did a few films with PQA, and look, I'm really not trying to throw shade at PQA here. But there were just, I don't know how they managed it, but like they had all the equipment, like the professional cameras, professional microphones, all that. But somehow the films always turned out terrible. I don't know how it was possible, because like the scripts were there and the concepts were there, and like some of us could act fairly well, but just the execution wasn't good most of the time. So we made like a few really crude films. I think we made like one decent one that won an award at a Leeds film festival called Hunted. I think I was like assistant producer on that one. And actually, that film isn't too bad. It's only a short film, obviously. It never did very well because, like, it wasn't a massive film festival or anything. But yeah, Hunted was pretty good. So that was, like, a film that I worked on at PQA that I'm still fairly proud of to this day. I think that came out in 2019. So, you know, not too long ago. So yeah, PQA really was a massive, massive breakthrough for me into realizing what I wanted to do. Again, it's worth mentioning, like, I'm probably going to bring it up when something pivotal happens, but I'm doing YouTube throughout all of this, and, like, fairly consistently. A lot of my old content, by the way, if you're going to look for it, isn't up anymore. I took a load of it down because it sucked. But, yeah, like, look, I was doing YouTube throughout all of this, so I think I attended PQA 2015 through 2020, if my memory serves me correctly. And what happened was, and this is 2016 that I'm going to talk about now. 2016, me, Alex, and my other friend Cole came together and said, let's make our own movie. See, I, attending PQA, thought I had like all the genius filmmaking attributes. I was like, okay, I'm going to be pretty good at this whole filmmaking thing, right? So I pitched a plan to Alex. I was like, you've got a green screen, right? He was like, yeah. I was like, okay, we're going to go to Minecraft, all right? I'm gonna appeal to my YouTube audience, which was so small at this point, by the way. I don't know what I was thinking. But I was like, okay, I make some Minecraft and Minion Rush videos. Let's make a film where we go to Minecraft and we like break into Minion Rush. Let's make this film, right? And we have like video game characters from all the games I play on YouTube break into the real world. It's like my YouTube subscribers are gonna love it, okay? And Alex was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Cole, I can't remember how he convinced Cole to do it. I don't even know if Cole knew he was doing it. I can't remember if I just invited him around to my house and I was like, yo, we're gonna shoot for this film. And he was like, what? But we made a film and I called it Jaden Tries Minion Rush, the movie. It sucked. It was absolutely terrible. That is still up on this channel. You can still watch it. It is the worst thing that has ever graced this planet. I genuinely think that film is irredeemably bad. It is utterly terrible. So, yeah, that film came out. It didn't do very well, like, when I first released it. I don't think it got many views even for the time. I think people largely ignored that film. Because I looked at it recently, I was like 2,200 views, and like that's better than like my average video does today. And I found out through like my YouTube community that people have been clowning on that thing for a long time. It's sort of become like a very small cult following that just finds this movie the funniest thing in the world. And like when you watch it, you can kind of see why it is. The editing is so bad that it actually makes it laughably funny. There's like full explanations for scenes written in text on the screen because I couldn't be bothered to make the scene. It's hilarious, alright? So, yeah, look, 2016, I made my own film completely off my back, and it was terrible. We will get to this later. In fact, you know what? Forget later, I'm going to get into it now. Come 2020, I had to leave PQA because of the COVID lockdown. Everyone remembers COVID-19, it sucked. PQA, I had to leave. School was abandoned. I'm pretty sure I was doing like English and drama and such at school. So my grades were like, you know, assessed based on the work I'd done so far. I didn't get to do my GCSEs, which is crazy. But I think I came out with pretty good grades. I honestly can't remember what they were. But yeah, no, COVID hit, and obviously everyone was stuck inside and I couldn't attend PQA anymore. So it was like, right, everything I want to do toward my career now, I have to do completely off my own back. I don't have this drama school to rely on anymore. I got to do my own stuff. And that was scary, man. That was kind of like, okay, this is all down to me now. So I knew I had to take things up a gear. So the first thing I did is, bear in mind, I was still making Minion Rush content. In fact, even today, I'm still making Minion Rush content. I'll get to that later. But, yeah, no, I was making Minion Rush content. I was like, how do I appeal to a Minion Rush audience while also pursuing something that I'm personally more interested in? And it was COVID. People generally were more free with their time. And I thought, right, let's start a interview series where I speak to people who are behind the making of Minion Rush. This was something I'd wanted to do for a very long time, but didn't really have the time nor effort, to be honest, to get it started. But with it being COVID, I thought, okay, there's probably like a higher chance some of these people will be more willing to speak to me. So I reached out to Carl Vaudrin, who is the game's composer, and I reached out to Ava Benavente, who is the voice actress behind one of the characters in Minion Rush. And I thought, there's no chance they're going to get back to me. These people either have like a prosperous career or have abandoned that career and probably just live a normal life now. So I didn't think much of it. But a couple of days later, I got responses from both of them. And they were really willing to do a video interview with me. And I thought, awesome, right? This could be the start of something incredible. So I got on Zoom with them and was immediately hit with unbelievable technical difficulties in both interviews. My audio was echoed throughout the entirety of Carl's interview. And my camera straight up died, like, toward the end of my interview with Ava. So both of them are, like, really, really scuffed interviews. But they were interviews with people that evidently people did want to hear from. So I put the interviews out on YouTube, and they were some of my best performing videos in a while, and definitely the most engaged videos I had in a while. Like, the comments I got and the likes I got were significantly higher than anything I'd done before that point. And I thought, this has something to it, right? So, yeah, that happened. I started doing these interviews and I thought that was great. Simultaneously, with this being COVID and everyone had way too much free time, I started thinking, what else can I do? You know, I was like, I can't really do much off my own back right now because I don't have the resources. A lot of my content, if it were to be funny or good, would rely on like the interactions I had with other people. So, bit of a roadblock there. Now, you remember the film I talked about in 2016, Jaden Tries Minion Rush the movie. There's an entire documentary about what I'm going to talk about. Please do check out Point Zero. The link is in the description. But basically in 2020, I thought, wouldn't it be funny if I made a sequel to that film? Like, I can't do a direct sequel because no one would watch that. No one wants to see crudely edited video game characters come back. What people probably do want to see come back is me and Alex making a film together. So I set out writing a sequel, and I realized that I would probably have to do something with the first film and re-release it in some way for the sequel to make any kind of sense. Not that these films making sense really mattered to me, but I wanted to make something that people who watched that first film would find amusing, but also kind of start my own film series in a way. Now, looking back, I'm kind of gutted that I didn't start a soft reboot and just abandon that first film completely, because watching what is now the film series start to finish is a little bit of a painful experience because you have to sit through that first film to get what happens after. Massive mistake, honestly. I can't believe I to this day make people watch Jaden Tries the first movie. But anyway, I wrote a script or like an outline or something for a potential sequel to that first film. I called it Jaden Tries to Save the World Again. And I got whoever I could interested in the idea. Alex was really hard to talk around. I remember that much. Like, Alex did not want to do it for the longest time. My friend Alfie, who I went to PQA with, he was more than game to do it. He said he'd be a character in it. And my friend Kara, Kara's a pretty, quiet person, and she very much keeps to herself. And I remember she also didn't want to do this film, but she did want to, help and said she'd help us shoot it and things like that. So, there we go. I had Alfie, who was a talented actor, say yes. Kara said she'd do, the production stuff. Alex was what I needed to make this film work. Cole didn't want to do it at all. Cole was a no, so Cole was off the table. Alex, I eventually ended up convincing to do it, so the minute COVID restrictions lifted, I took out my phone, gave it to Kara, came up with this loose plot about an evil version of me versus the good version of me that would be revealed to have been the person behind that first film the whole time, and we got to work, and we made Jaden Tries to Save the World Again. I edited it together, and I rendered it in 480p, and I deleted all the original footage. What was wrong with me? That was genuinely, if you asked me, what my top 5 biggest mistakes in life were, deleting the original footage to Tries 2 is, genuinely up there. I'm not even joking. One of the biggest mistakes of my entire life. So, look, we made Tries 2, put it out on YouTube, and the hype train was existent, to be honest. Between my friends and, my niche YouTube audience, people really wanted to see this second film. And when it came out, people generally really enjoyed it. Looking back at Tries 2 now, I'm a lot more critical of it. It's a very simple film, and I wish I'd done a bit more with it. But ultimately, people enjoyed it. So I thought, I guess we'll do another one. So 2021, I made a sequel to that sequel. I made a Halloween special about We Play, and I made a Christmas special. And what I learned throughout the process of making these is, I think I'm limiting myself. I was like, okay, I think I can actually do more than these silly, jokey, hardly taking themselves seriously films. I probably could make something of decent quality. So I set out, by this time it was 2022, I set out to make a feature-length film about this little world that I'd made, where all of the main characters come together, culminate, and fight off the big bad guy, which is my friend Daniel, who again is a pretty decent actor. He went to the drama school with me. So yeah, I set out to make this huge film, and I made it. I made the film, I think come 2022, yeah, I'd have just finished my A-levels. I took English and drama for A-level. So I had pretty good grades under my belt in things that that would be relevant to my media career. So given I'd finished my A-levels and stuff like that, I spent the majority of that summer working on this massive, massive film. Again, still just shot it on my phone. What can you do? When you haven't got loads of money like me, you kind of need to resort to things like that and heavily rely on the quality of the writing. The editing that you put into it, the story that you provide, that's more important than what you actually shoot it on, because you can't rely on that when you're broke like me. So I made that feature-length film, and I think it was £150 that I spent on this. I rented out a cinema to show it to my friends. And I sat in that room, premiered that film, and the reactions I got from the people around me was one of the most heartwarming things I've ever witnessed in my life. It was wonderful to see how much people resonated with the story that I told. And I remember doing like a little speech toward the end of it. I was like, thank you guys, for helping me conclude the story. It was wonderful. And that was the event. It was great. And I felt really reassured by that. So I'd concluded my movie series by this point, which I think gave me a much better insight to acting, editing, distribution, things like that. I'd learned a lot along the way. And it was through that and the synergy of that and my interviews that I did in 2020 that I thought, do I want to do journalism or like something to do with media production? Is that like the direction I'm headed in? So I applied to a load of different universities. I think I came out of A-levels with an A star in English, a B in drama because I totally scuffed the written portion of drama. I think I wrote something like one of the characters should have clean hair. That has a lot more context to it, but my point is that my drama work, written work sucked, so I ended up with a B. I got like a D in politics because I didn't want to take politics. I can't remember why I had to end up taking it. And it's funny as well because I wasn't politically minded at all when I was in sixth form. But now, low-key, I think I could absolutely boss those exams because I am like the biggest woke warrior ever these days. Like, dude, I know the ins and outs of like a lot of parts of politics now. So I think I could probably do better in that now. But anyway, case in point is I came up with an A star in English and a B in drama. They were like the biggest things I got out of sixth form. I think I originally wanted to go to the University of Sheffield, but I ended up going to York St John University on a journalism course. And this is where a lot of stuff changed for me. So I got to university, started it in York, met loads of awesome people, that kind of thing. But when I started on my course, it became pretty clear to my professors that I'd been doing what I am doing for much longer than a lot of the other people in the course. And I think they noticed that I had certain skills and attributes, but one of the things, and I'm really thankful that I was told this, like, out the gate, I was stubborn. I was very, very stubborn. Not in, like, a rude way, but in a, and I will admit this, and again, I never came across as, like, better than anyone else or anything like that. That is not what I mean by this. What I mean is that I had a way of doing things, and I wanted to stick to that way of doing things. I was happy with my creative process, and I didn't want to alter it in the slightest. I was using this terrible software called Camtasia Studio 8 for, if we're talking 2022, then I'd probably been using Camtasia for the past 8 years or something like that. It was ridiculous. I refused to move off of it. And like I would edit all of my university work on Camtasia. And the stuff I was producing was fairly good. But eventually my lecturers came to me and they were like, what are you using there? And I was like, I'm good at it. I know how it works. I know the ins and outs of this software. And they were like, you have like an Adobe subscription for free with university, right? And I was like, yeah, but I'm not learning all that. It's so complicated, It's like, no, I'm not using all the complicated software. Moving to Adobe Premiere Pro was the best decision I think I ever made for my career. I adore that software to this day. I've had a lot of people tell me to move over to different softwares and stuff, and honestly, I'm probably facing the same problem with Premiere now than I was with Camtasia, in that I'm too stubborn to move off of it. But I'm comfortable in Premiere, and I think it serves everything I need for the current point I'm at in my career. Moving to Premiere, probably like one of the best decisions I ever made. So, for university, I worked on a lot of projects. I remember we did like a podcast project, which again, I really enjoyed doing. I did like a 90-second featurette of a show that was going on in the local area. I started also expanding out to written work as well. So I started writing for the university publication called The Yorkie. I did like written stuff online for that. That was really fun. We also started working on like live news segments as well. So we would do like live shows that I think were shown to like university students. I honestly don't know how public they went. I like presented the news. I made news packages that would be shown during the news segments, edited a lot of this myself, presented a lot of this myself, really learned that I think that's my bread and butter. I really like presenting to a camera. That was where I learned that was what I enjoyed doing there. University taught me a lot, to be honest. As I say, like all of these things that I did really led me in a direction that sort of made me understand specifically what part of my career I wanted to go into. So yeah, uni, I did a lot. Like I said, I did a lot. I came out with a first class honours degree by the end of it. But at some point during university, I think it was in my third year, there are a few pretty notable projects that really shifted everything for me. And one of them was that we were told we had to do work experience, but that the university wouldn't be providing us with the work experience. We had to go out and find it ourselves. My heart sank. I was like, I have no connections in this industry. So my dad was originally going to hook me up with the guy he knew, but that didn't ultimately end up panning out, and I only found out that wasn't going to pan out like a month before the work experience was due, and I was like, no. So I was sat in my accommodation common room, and I saw this magazine called Student Pages, and I picked it up and started flicking through it, and I was like, this is a pretty cool magazine, this. I looked at like the front page, and there was this guy Gareth, the CEO. And it said, you know, any questions or anything from students, reach out to us at this email. So I reached out and I was like, look, I'm a university student. I need work experience and I don't know where to get it. So if you could point me in the direction of like anyone that would be willing to have me, let me know. I got an email a few days later from the guy, Gareth. And Gareth said, he was like, you know, I've taken a look at like your online stuff that you do. And I've noticed those interviews that you did. So we're talking the Minion Rush ones from back in 2020. He said he noticed those and he wanted to get me on a Zoom call to discuss a new project that Student Pages were working on that I could be helpful in. I was like, okay, this sounds pretty promising. So I got on the call with Gareth and he basically explained that Student Pages were the leading UK student magazine. Obviously a statistic like that is difficult to prove, but they are distributed in like loads of Oxfam stores. They go to most major accommodations in the UK. They are a big magazine with a big reach, and they have big names tied to them and things like that. Student Pages are a very respected magazine. So they were talking to me, and Gareth was talking to me, and he said, right, we're going to do this interview series. And I was like, okay. And basically what they wanted me to do is they had ties with loads of agencies and things like that, with actors, writers, musicians, this kind of thing. They wanted to start a series where we just spoke to these people and asked them for advice for students. And Gareth's suggestion to me was, let's get you being the lead host of these things. Yes, this was like perfect for me. I was over the moon. I said, absolutely, I'll do it. So I sort of underwent a 1 month work experience with Student Pages, and they got me on these calls. My first one was with this guy, Andrew P. Logan, who was one of the stars of a Netflix series called American Primeval. I then spoke to a woman called Ellie Walker, who was a musician. And then this was a huge surprise. I got to speak to the drummer from the band Kaiser Chiefs, who are a massive band in the UK. I actually knew of them before I did the interview, so it was a bit of a whoa moment, really. He was an awesome guy who's called Nick Hodgson. He now is in a band called Everyone Says Hi. So I did those 3 interviews during the work experience period, and Gareth sent back the feedback to my lecturers, and basically he gave me very high praise, and I got a really high grade in the work experience part. I was so pleased and so thankful to Gareth for that. So when the period was kind of coming to the end, I reached out to Gareth and I said, I'm really enjoying doing this. Can I stay on? It's like, look, I don't need to be paid or anything. It's like, I'm getting great content out of speaking to these people, and I love doing it. Gareth was like, yeah, we were kind of going to ask you anyway. It's like, we want you to keep doing it because it's fantastic. And I think I've done over 40, maybe reaching 50 interviews for Student Pages to this day. Some of my favorite work. It doesn't get the most views on YouTube, but I love doing that content so much that I don't care. And I honestly think it looks good to employers to know that I know what I'm doing in an interview, and like that I've spoken to some really respectable people for a really respectable publication. So I still put them on YouTube. I've had a few questions from you guys actually who watch me frequently asking, what are these interviews? When did you start doing them? And I'm like, what are they doing on this channel? I just put them on this channel because I think they're genuinely good content. They're not necessarily going to appeal to my YouTube audience, but when I speak to someone who has their own audience, their audience come to me, and that looks good for me. So that's why they go on this channel. But yeah, Student Pages gave me this interview series, and I love doing it to this day. It's one of my favorite things that I've done with my career so far. Also with Student Pages, they, like I said, have the magazine. And there came a point when they were working on one of the magazines. I can't remember which one it was. But I basically said to Gareth, I was like, look, I know my way around the English literature side of things. Not literature, language. I said, I've done a lot of work in writing for my student, like my York St. John publication, The Yorkie. I said, right, I will happily write for student pages. And Gareth was like, let me give it a shot with you, okay? You write this for the website, and we'll see how you do. And he was really impressed with the article that I came up with, and he was like, right, I'm going to give you a few topics, and I want you to write articles for the magazine. This, I should mention, is paid work. This is something I do get paid for, that I still do to this day. And I wrote articles for student pages. I think I did a few on like finance. I've done a few like transcripts of interviews that I've done for the magazine. And this was paid work that is actually published. I have my student pages copies over there, actually. I am published in 2 magazines that have huge reach in the UK. This was a great breakthrough for me. And frankly, probably some of the most impressive media work that I've done so far. So I think I'm clearly going less in like time order now. I'm more just focusing on certain things. So to wrap up the student pages things, to sort of get to where we are today, student pages have ties with a load of big companies, one of them being Warner Brothers. So one of the best experiences I've gotten out of them is I've got to go to the UK premieres of Superman and the Minecraft movie. That was amazing. They were 2 of the coolest events I've ever been to. I have an upcoming event in Birmingham called SBS, which is hosted by Heyo, who is one of the dragons on Dragon's Den. That's like a big liaison small business event where you get to go to a load of workshops about, running businesses, sort of speaking with people in the relevant industries to you. I can't wait for that. It's going to be awesome. So yeah, they've given me a lot of events experience. And then one of the biggest things that happened with student pages recently is my friend Izzy, who I met at Hollywood Bowl, where I work. She said she wanted to go into a similar career to me. So I said, let me reach out to Gareth for you. I'll get you guys in touch and I'll see if there's anything we could do. The best thing that came out of that is that me and Izzy are now co-workers in a way. She now works with student pages. She co-hosts the interviews, as you guys see, because I put the series on this channel as well. She does half the episodes, I do half of them. That system's been working really well because I don't like doing too many interviews in a row. It kind of stresses me out. So the fact that Izzy's taken on half of them is really great. And she also does some other stuff for the student page. I think she's going to start writing for the magazine as well. It's just really wonderful that someone that I know in real life and that I'm friends with in real life, I get to work on this with. It's kind of reassuring in a weird kind of way. It's like it's nice to know that I quite literally know someone who's doing exactly what I'm doing, so I don't feel crazy half the time. So yeah, that's student pages. I would say that's one of the best things that's happened to me in my multimedia career. So I'm going to take a little step back again. I'm going to focus more on those films that I was making. Because again, there's a lot more that goes into filmmaking than what meets the eye. It's not just getting in front of the camera and acting. When you're someone like me who is running this series on my own, it's the editing, it's the shooting, blah, blah, blah. I mentioned that I finished the series with the one that went live in cinemas. Yeah, that was a lie. I went to university, learnt Premiere Pro and thought, with the resources I have now, I could make significantly better films. So, given that I think Triesverse was the 6th film at the time, I thought, okay, let's expand the series in some way. So I made like one of my worst films because I was experimenting with like using university sets and that kind of thing. I made like a Better Call Saul ripoff called Better Call Tries. Not great, but it's alright. It's a funny watch, I guess. And I rebooted the series under the term the Triesverse. And I learned so much doing the Triesverse and continue to learn so much doing the Triesverse in that it's very difficult to make films of any kind. Never mind the quality, never mind like, that kind of thing. The biggest advice I have is that if you have an idea, make it. Don't wait around until someone funds it for you or something like that, because it's not going to happen. If you have an idea for a film, even if it's not the perfect version of it, make a version, make your version, just get it made. So I do everything for the Triesverse, essentially. I write them, edit them, direct them, shoot them if I'm not on camera, because I also play the main role in the series. Because my character is basically just there to progress the plot, to be honest. I much prefer the side characters in that series. But the Triesverse, we're up to, I think, 19 entries, and we have 2 more planned to conclude it all. And I think I've had over 70 people play roles in the Triesverse, and even more work on it behind the scenes. That has been one of the biggest privileges of my entire life. I have the entire series on Blu-ray, I've made Funko Pops of the characters, I have like a signed cast sheet of everyone that's worked on it. I put a lot of effort into the Triesverse and the branding and making sure that the story keeps doing more fun things and that I give people what they want to see in the series. It's much more centric toward my friends. People on YouTube don't really watch it that much these days, but they have gotten consistently better. I've started shooting in 4K, the editing's gotten a lot better, I'd even argue the writing's probably gotten better. I think we're doing more interesting things with the story now. So yeah, the Triesverse, it's been a journey. I'd say that. But as I say, the biggest takeaway from the Triesverse is if you have an idea, just make it. Don't wait around. Just do what you can with the idea that you have. And from the Triesverse spouted the documentary that I made as part of my university work called Point Zero. That was an experience to adapt my skill set to a much bigger production value. Like, we had like professional cameras and recording studios, microphones, that kind of thing to work on that. So I got to apply my editing knowledge to actually well shot stuff for the first time. So that was incredible. Making Point Zero is one of my favorite projects and favorite pieces of work that I've ever made. It's very personal to me, and I was very, very proud of it. So obviously not everyone is going to be able to have an experience like that, to be able to make something like that. But for me, that was another breakthrough. That was another, I love doing this. So yeah, Point Zero honestly was an absolutely incredible experience to work on. So that was the Triesverse. If we go back to YouTube, which, as you guys are probably aware, I'm still doing to this day, YouTube's a nightmare. YouTube's a genuine nightmare. I can't say I suggest it to people in media because YouTube has an algorithm. And if you want to do well on YouTube, you've got to appeal to the algorithm. And unfortunately, appealing to the algorithm doesn't necessarily mean making good content. It's about making content that YouTube is going to push. I make Minion Rush content still to this day, and it's frustrating because I know how to make Minion Rush videos that get literal hundreds of thousands of views per video, but I refuse to make them because popular Minion Rush videos have titles like Minion Funny Silly Game Fails, Running Part 7, Golfer, Evil, basically just strung together keywords with the worst thumbnails you've seen in your life. That does well, but I refuse to do that. I want cohesive titles. I want good editing in my videos, and I want fun to look at thumbnails. I refuse to stoop to the levels that people stoop to make decent content now. It's like, no, like to make popular content now, it's like, no, I refuse to do it. So yeah, I mean, no, I'm not a big fan of that kind of thing. But I mean, yeah, so as to like where I'm at now, it's confusing because I've applied to a BBC apprenticeship. That's really awesome. I also recently, I completely forgot to mention this earlier, I also took up voice acting for a while, which was an interesting experience because it wasn't like anything professional. But I had this friend, John, and he was making his own like audio dramas online. And he approached me with the concept of, do you want to get in on this? I was like, yeah, go on then. It's like, it's an experience to try something new, why not? So I started voice acting. He had this Doctor Who mini-series that he worked on, and I played a character called the Crusader, and I loved that character, and I loved voice acting. I thought it was wonderful. Voice acting is very different to like screen acting, and it's also a bit more of an eye-opener to the multimedia industry as well, because the distribution process and the reach that audio dramas have is very different to like on-screen film. But John's work is stellar, to be honest. It's like, it really is top-tier stuff. And I really enjoyed my time playing that character. I since have moved on from the role, and someone that like the character regenerated, which is a thing in Doctor Who. It was less about the fact that it was Doctor Who and more about the fact that I got to voice act. That was really fun. It's like, I really suggest anyone should give that a go, really, because you'll always be able to find someone who's looking for voice actors. Volunteer for free. It's like, I never usually suggest to people to do anything for free. Getting paid in exposure is the biggest lie in this industry that you're gonna find. But honestly, like, yeah, I think in something like that, when it's like a more personal project to someone, and when like they're not going off of a massive budget, if someone asks you to do something that you think is going to be helpful for you, or that you're going to get to work on a piece of work that's going to help you to get into your industry, if it's a like self-made thing that someone's working on, take part in it. Just do it. It's like, that is one of the best steps you can make for yourself, I think, if you're trying to break into this industry. So, like I was getting to, and I trailed off again, let's talk about where I am now. I'm on YouTube. I've recently experienced making YouTube shorts. That's a fascinating thing, YouTube shorts. There's no money in it, but like, genuinely, it's almost impossible to not get 1,000 views on a YouTube short. They are content gold mines and exposure gold mines, so try that. It's not going to help you build an audience, but at the very least, it's going to prove that you know how to make short form content, which I think is helpful in any industry at this point, because it's just dominating the industry, short form. So yeah, get yourself making YouTube shorts, no matter who you are. It's like, that's really easy to do. I'll actually argue TikTok is harder to go viral on than YouTube shorts. TikTok, I don't even go near TikTok really. I just mess about on that platform because, dude, I don't know how it works. I don't understand its algorithm in the slightest. But yeah, also I made myself an Instagram, like where I put some of my work. I honestly wish more people would go over and follow me on Instagram, but I don't think I have the right audience that are gonna do that because I have a fairly young, established audience. So yeah, I guess Instagram was a good thing. Making my website, I am so proud of my website. I think it's fantastic. I very rarely like big up my own stuff. I think I'm willing to accept a lot of the stuff I work on has a lot of flaws. But my website is stellar, man. I am really, really proud of my website. I made it using Canva, of all things. The only thing I really paid for, I don't even have Canva Pro. I just paid for the domain. So my website I'm really proud of. I built that myself. It's a custom design that I made using like colors and themes that I designed myself. I literally have like a purple gradient that I use to everything. It's like branding is another thing. Branding's something that I like am almost obsessed with, like clinically obsessed with. You know, it's like I love like using certain fonts and colors and things like that consistently across the board. I think that's really, really helpful. So, I mean, look, I'm not at a point in my career that I'm pleased with, to be honest, but I'm 21 years old, just about to turn 22 in a couple months' time, so I'm naturally not going to be in the position that I want to be. I'm still working a minimum wage job, but the point is that I think I'm making all the right steps. I've had liaisons and meetings with people from local radio stations like YO1 Radio. I've worked with people from York Mix. Again, these are all local places. But the point is that I think I'm making the right connections. Because that's another thing. Even if it's not like a job opportunity, you want to talk to anyone that's relevant to your career if you have the opportunity to do so. You know, it's like if someone reaches out on LinkedIn or something like that. I hate LinkedIn. Don't get me started on LinkedIn. I hate it, but I guess it's useful in places. Honestly, yeah, it's like just being able to reach out to people who are in relevant experiences to you, like, you know, who have done well in the career that you're trying to get into. Just reach out. Then they're probably not going to reply, but in every other case, they do. I spoke to Wayne Chadwick from YO1. He was a really great guy. I actually got myself on the YO1 radio station talking about the Triesverse at one point. So again, there's every chance that you're going to run into someone that's really friendly and wants to see you succeed and will give you opportunities if they can provide them to you. So reach out to anyone that you can, really. As I say, that the chances that they're going to accept it are not always there. But just try, you know, it's like, just give it a go. So I think I've made it pretty clear by this point that I have a pretty wide array of projects that I've worked on. I don't even think I've covered nearly everything. As I say, this all started for me when I was really, really young. And I think I've just gradually learned more and more things over time. Like I say, whether it be, I think I'm probably giving myself problems in the fact that I want to put eggs into every single basket because I love everything about multimedia. Like social media management, video editing, acting, like, dude, I love all of it. Which again, makes me adaptable, but equally, it's kind of difficult to promote myself in a certain way because it's like, what is your niche? I don't really have one, I just do a bit of everything. But I guess it's going to come in handy at some point. I don't know when. But yes, hopefully I've given you guys a bit of a more in-depth rundown as to who I am and what I do and why I do it. I've always wanted to make a video like this, but I've just not really had the time. I had a bit of free time on me today, so I thought, let's make it. Let's make it happen. So yeah, I hope you've all enjoyed. I imagine my career is going to go in more interesting ways. From this point on, I'm going to try and document it all a little bit better, whether it be through YouTube Shorts or vlogs or whatever. I'm going to try and be a bit more open about like what I'm doing with my career, because YouTube is a pretty good platform to get stuff out there. Even if no one watches it, it's good just for documenting things. So yeah, I hope you've all enjoyed this bit of a different video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and leave a like. That would be massively appreciated. I imagine it'll look good to employers. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and I will see you whenever I do another video in a bit.